You guys have questions? I've got answers. Hey guys, Coach Rick here. Today is the second AMA video. So you guys had plenty of really cool questions last week. I've compiled all of them and I have them right here in front of me. So let's start right away. First question is from Johnny P. I cut bread out of my diet where it was once consumed en masse. Is there a decent tasting alternative to villaggio bread that doesn't have any, or at least as many of the negative side effects of white bread? White bread, Johnny? Who still eats white bread, man? It's 2021. Come on, get with the program, son. No, but to be serious, you know, before I show you the bread that I absolutely love, I'm gonna give you some quick little tips when deciding what type of bread you should be buying. So the first tip is you should look at the fiber content. Fiber should represent 10% of the total carbohydrates. Remember that fiber is technically a carbohydrate. It's just a type of carbohydrate that your body doesn't actually break down. It just kind of runs right through you. So for example, if your bread says, I don't know, per one slice, it's like 20 grams of carbs, well then 10% of 20 is 2. So it should have a minimum 2 grams of fiber. Other things you should look for in the ingredient list, or rather you should not find in the ingredient list, is enriched wheat flour or bleached flour. I'm not a fan of canola oil, so if the bread is made with canola oil, like it's usually not the highest quality type of bread. So those are the things you should look out for. If they have that in there, try and avoid them. Look for things that are organic and whole grain, 100% whole wheat, whole grain, okay? You wanna find that 100% number in there. Okay, so I grabbed the bread that I absolutely adore, but I will say one thing. This bread, not really ideal if it's raw. You want to toast it, okay? This is like the best toast bread ever. It's super crunchy, it's super delicious. Put a bit of butter on that. Now, I know you like Nutella, Johnny, but you know, you should be avoiding Nutella because, you know, you're getting older now. We're all getting a bit older. We got to take care of our health. Nutella, not really ideal. Maybe once in a blue moon. Anyway, so this is the bread. It's called Première Moisson. I love this bread. The ingredient list is literally fully organic, and like I said, it's delicious. So this is my favorite bread. You can buy it at Costco. It comes in a 2-pack. I think I've seen it in other stores. I don't want to say IGA. I think it was Metro. But anyways, you can find it at Costco. I'm pretty sure you go to Costco. So yeah, check this one out. Première Moisson. Next question comes to us from Tyler R. Tyler asks, what's your take on inversion therapy? Is it a good idea for someone who has back problems? Okay, so this one is a little bit tricky, and that's because, like most things, the science can say one thing or another. So I did a bit of research on inversion therapy, and it turns out there's some research papers that say that it doesn't really show any long-term benefits, and then there's some other research papers that it does help for pain management. Now, the real answer is that it lies with the specific person, okay? Lower back problem, I mean, look, I'm assuming it's lower back problems. I think you had posted that you got a herniated disc, which I'm really sorry to hear about that, Tyler. I've had one. I got one 2 years ago, and it's honestly debilitating. I can tell you though that you can heal like 100%. It's been months now. I don't feel anything. Like my back is back to normal, honestly. Of course, I'm more careful, you know, it doesn't mean I want to, you know, twist my spine while I'm squatting and be doing some stupid shit, but I can pretty much do what I was doing in the past. So there is hope for you. Will inversion therapy help you? I would say you have to try it out, okay? Everyone is unique in how they feel things and in what type of injury that they have. So you have to just try it and see for yourself. I will say that it might be too drastic of a response for your spine. So you have to think that when there's an injury in some part of your body, whether it's you know, in this case, if it's a herniated disc, well, you have like part of your disc kind of bulging out of your vertebrae. So then your vertebrae are stacked together. So when you have something kind of bulging out, every time your vertebrae flex and extend, well, that disc is getting kind of jammed. and around the disc is the nerve. So that's where you're feeling those pains. Hopefully you only have pain in that one spot, because you can have it in multiple parts of your body, like it can shoot down your leg. Anyway, the point is it might be too intense of a response for the body, because that inversion therapy, for anyone who doesn't know, is when you go on this chair, this device where you kind of lay yourself, you strap yourself in, and you flip yourself upside down to allow your spine to elongate, to some extent. I mean, it's measured in centimeters. And this can basically take away some points of pressure. But you have to understand that doing this alone might not be the thing that's gonna get you out of pain. You might have to follow that up with more rehab exercises. And like you'd ask me like, hey, well, what can I do for that? And I can't tell you that, because everyone's lower back pain is unique. You might have problems in flexion or extension or rotation. You might have problems with lateral flexion. Like it really depends where the pain is, and different rehab protocols will work with different injuries. So I think I had sent you a book to read from Stewart to McGill. It's called Back Mechanic. Let me go find it. Honestly, this is a fantastic book. It's really easy to read. It's made with the reader in mind, so you don't have to be an all-knowing coach to be able to read this and understand it. Anyone can understand this book, and there are some diagnostics that you can perform to figure out what type of back pain you have, and therefore what type of rehab you should focus on. I remember when I first read this book, I'm not even joking, after like a day or two, my back pain subsided drastically. So I highly suggest reading Stewart and McGill's work. Okay, next question is from Alexis Talbot. He asks, how important are vitamins, and what type of vitamins would you suggest taking? Okay, here's another really interesting one. So vitamins, so many supplement companies make multivitamins that are full of crap. And why are they full of crap? For many reasons. One reason could be that there's just not enough of that vitamin to actually make a difference. The next reason is because the vitamin that they're giving you is not the best form, not the best type of that specific vitamin or nutrient, okay? Not everything is made equal. So you have to find something that is actually well absorbed and that you're gonna get enough of to actually make a difference. Now, that's not to say that you're gonna take a multivitamin and be like, whoa, suddenly everything's amazing and everything's better. It doesn't really work that way. You have to understand that, we don't have like pain receptors inside of our bodies telling us when things are going wrong, but those things can still be going wrong. So by taking a multivitamin, you can ensure that you're getting those smaller quantities of very specific nutrients. It's not like you need 2 grams of copper in your body. You need like minute amounts of copper or minute amounts of manganese. So that's where a multivitamin can come in handy. Now, when it comes to supplements, usually when you spend less on them, like if you spend like $10, $15 on like a Centrum bottle and you're like, yeah, it got discounted, it's amazing, it's full of crap, okay? You get what you pay for, especially when it comes to supplements. So you have to look up brands that are really, really good, that they have a track record for high quality. For multivitamins, I'm a big fan of Thorne Research and ATP. And yeah, you can find those at, Thorne you might be able to find on Amazon, I think. But I know that you have to be a retail seller to also sell them. So I'm not sure if you can, I'm not really sure on that one. But ATP you can find at like most specific supplement stores. Next question comes to us from Dalsha V. And Dalsha asks, I do mostly HIIT workouts, so high intensity interval training workouts, and toning using light weights. Is protein powder necessary, or am I getting enough protein just in my meals? So this is a question about protein and if you're getting enough. Well, I can't fully answer that question without really knowing what you're eating, okay? But if you're training, then you should be aiming for something like 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 120 pounds, you can eat around 120 grams of protein per day, and that should be enough. I mean, if you're getting maybe 80 to 90%, like that's likely fine as well. But just know that the more intense your training is, the more protein you'll likely require. So back to the question, is protein powder necessary? It's not necessary, but it is really helpful because each scoop is something like 25 to 30 grams of protein. I mean, for someone who weighs 120 pounds, that's 1/4 of what you require in one day. You have to stop looking at protein powder as a supplement and more as an actual food. Like, it's literally just a food. I mean, it's the end process of like making milk and yogurt, like all the leftover froth, like that's what whey is. Hundreds of years ago, we actually threw it out thinking it was useless until a few people were like, wait a second, maybe we should refine this and eat it. And a few hundred years later, we have like chocolate deliciousness protein powder you can buy at the store. So take advantage of it because it's just an easy way to get protein in your system if you're not eating enough. Next question comes to us from Stephanie M, and she asks, can yoga be a good way of building muscle? So I will say that yoga has many, there's different levels of intensity of yoga. You can do like beginner level exercises, intermediate, and then you get into the more advanced stuff, which is actually really difficult, honestly. Like, you got to be very flexible for that and strong to some extent. So you have to understand that when you're not working with weights, you're always going to be limited by your own body weight. Like, for example, if I'm doing push-ups and I'm really terrible at push-ups, well, for sure the first month of practicing, I'm probably going to build some muscle. But at a certain point, like when I'm hitting 40, 50, 60 rep sets of push-ups, I've adapted so well that there's a lot less muscle I can put on because I've pretty much adapted to doing push-ups. So my body's like, nah, you're good, man. You don't need any more muscle. You can do pretty much what you can do, and that's enough, and that's fine. So that's the point at which you're gonna want to use weights. Now, when it comes to yoga, I wouldn't call it a very good muscle builder. However, it could be useful to build some muscle for more beginner intermediate. I wouldn't say it's a muscle builder for advanced. However, in another way, here, let me rephrase this one, okay? Yoga, if you look at the type of movements that encompass what yoga is, most of those movements are isometric. Isometric means the muscles are working, but they're not moving. So if you think of yoga poses, I mean, they call them poses because you're holding those positions for long periods of time. So it's basically an isometric training. So to some extent, you can build muscle, but you're not gonna be like jacked from doing yoga. Also, yoga can be a very good balance for people who train really, really hard all the time. So honestly, I should probably be doing yoga a little bit more often. Like, I train with weights like pretty often. Like, I like going heavy. I do things that get my nervous system pumped up. So by doing yoga, it would be a way to calm my nervous system down, to kind of put me in a more relaxed state and help balance out my nervous system response. Because if my nervous system is always activated, I'm always gonna be like amped up. I'm gonna be trying to fall asleep and my mind's gonna be like racing. But if I do yoga, it's like calming. You're like at one with like yourself and the universe, yoga, you yogis, how you are. So is yoga a good muscle builder? Not really, but it can be helpful. All right, so our next question comes to us from Amanda C. It's a multi-part question, so I'll be answering the first one right now. So she asks, any tips to prevent shin splints? Now, Amanda, I've dealt with shin splints in the past when I was sprinting and running, and it's really, really painful. It feels like your tibia wants to snap in two. Now, usually shin splints are caused when there's an issue with balance between muscle strength between your calves and your tibialis. Okay, so usually what happens is the calves are stronger than the tibialis, so you have different lines of pull. So one exercise you can do to fix that imbalance, you go against the wall, you do tibialis raises. So what you're gonna do, just simply place your hands behind your butt to support it, walk your feet forward a bit, and then from there, you're just gonna lift your toes as high as you can and just hold that pause. Let's do 2-3 seconds per rep. So 3, 2, 1, back down, back up, 3, 2, 1, okay? As high as you can, toes as high as you can. Now that's gonna be contracting the tibialis muscle. Do this, let's say 3 times per week. Try and get 2 to 3 sets. go to failure because it's a very simple exercise, and failure will probably end up looking like 15 reps, maybe 12 to 15 reps, like I said, with 2 to 3 second pauses. And I'm telling you, in 2 weeks, you will see a massive change in pain. Probably won't have any pain at all. Her next question is cheese really that bad? Amanda, I get it. I get your point of view. A lot of people love cheese, including myself. I've had clients literally ask me this question. It's like, can I still eat cheese? Please? It's like, yeah, you can still eat your cheese. You just gotta fit it in your calories, okay? So if your goal is fat loss, the thing with cheese is that it's really dense with calories. So if you're adding cheese and you're grating cheese on your eggs and then like your salad and whatever, you're just gonna be accumulating a lot of calories for very little food volume. So you won't really be feeling, oh, like I'm full from eating cheese. You won't even feel it, but the calories will still be there. So is cheese really that bad? It's not bad for you per se, it's just that it's high in calories, so you have to watch your quantity. Amanda's next question is, she goes, I can't lift more than 5 pounds with my left hand, and my wrists are fused and only have 17 degrees of flexibility and mobility. How can I do push-up like exercises without bending my wrists? So Amanda, when I actually do push-ups, I don't like really having my hands flat on the floor because I've had issues in the past where my wrist was kind of sensitive. So I like to do my push-ups with a neutral grip. So these are like my favorite tools to use for push-ups. They're called the Push-Up Pro. So they basically allow you to do push-ups while maintaining that straight alignment between your wrists. So basically this, you can do your push-ups. And if push-ups are too difficult, knees on the floor, okay, you do them this way. Or another alternative, you can descend like this, and at the bottom, knees down, come up, go down very slow on the way down. Okay? That's one great way of doing push-ups to gain strength really quickly. Her next question is, how do I do bicep curls when I can't hold a weight? Excellent question. So this is where I like to come in and MacGyver things around in order to find a solution. So instead of actually holding a weight, why don't you just get some elastics and don't hold them in your hands, hold them in your wrists like this, okay? That way, you could do your bicep curls, okay? It's a little more awkward, granted, but at least you're gonna be able to strengthen and tone, look, I'm using the word tone, your biceps, okay? Our next question comes to us from Sarah G. And Sarah G asks, basically, my weight always fluctuates, gains and loses easily. I eat pretty clean and healthy, pescatarian diet, heavy on veggies and beans, but I feel like I lose my curves a bit, even if I'm working out. I like that toned, chunky look, if that makes sense, so I'll indulge in junk to balance out my body to look like a woman, poutine, chips, etc. Is there a way that I can gain the same fats or keep more weight on without eating horribly? Yes, of course there's a way you can do this. I mean, basically, from what I'm understanding, you're trying to use junk food as a way of increasing calories, which might work. However, you have to understand that these junk foods are also highly inflammatory. I mean, if you look at poutine, that's made of fries, which are fried in oils. If you look at all the cheese and the sauce that they use in the poutine, again, if you look at chips, it's just horrible oils and horrible foods that are only gonna add inflammation to your system, which your body's gonna have to deal with. Well, Sarah, I offer you a solution to your problem. Instead of adding junk food to your diet to unnecessarily add calories, what I suggest you do is just add more of the food you're already eating. Just increase your portion sizes. So if you're pescatarian, let's say you're having some salmon and some veggies and maybe some mashed potatoes on the side, like a simple dish, just add in an extra scoop of potatoes and maybe an extra serving of, or half a serving of salmon. That would, just alone would add 20% calories into your day and into your week. That would be a healthier option, a healthier approach than stuffing yourself with junk food that will only add, like I said, inflammation to your system. Another option that you can do is by adding higher calorie foods such as oils. Oils are made of mostly fats, and we know that fats are 9 calories per gram compared to protein and carbohydrates that are 4 calories per gram. So just a tablespoon of olive oil, for example, is around 120 calories. So just by adding an extra 2 tablespoons of olive oil, let's say in your salads, or in just spread around your meals, like you can even pour some olive oil on some rice, you're gonna be adding an extra 240 calories in a day. Might not seem like much, but mind you, that's a good 15% of likely your total calorie expenditure in a day, or rather, you know, how many calories you'll need in a day. So that's actually quite significant. In fact, it might even be too much. Maybe start with 1 tablespoon of olive oil and then see how you feel. Another option is instead of only increasing fats, you can also opt to increase protein, because protein is also very important. Okay, for women especially, you know, the 2 macronutrients that they likely undereat, it could be a mix of protein and fats. So not enough protein or not enough fats. And with women, fats are extremely important for reproductive hormone health, okay? So you wanna make sure you're getting at least 50 grams of fats per day, and that's totally on the minimal side. Like you can opt for even 60, 70 grams of fat. Now 70 might be pushing it depending on your size, but it also depends, of course, on the relative amounts of other macronutrients. So if your carbohydrates are low, well, then you can afford to have more fats. But if you're having a normal amount of carbs, maybe 60 grams of fats might be enough, and then you will see from there. So try that out and actually let me know how it is. You know, send me another DM in maybe a month from now and see how you feel. Our last question comes to us from a colleague of mine and a dear friend. His name is James Tognarini. For those of you who don't know him, James Tognarini is an excellent strength coach and naturopath. I highly suggest you follow all of his social media accounts. You will definitely learn a thing or two. So James asks, what happens if I take Viagra and have an erection lasting longer than 4 hours? Man, James, we call that a party! Yeah! No, but seriously. Clearly he's joking, you know, but if this ever happens to anybody, if you have an erection lasting longer than 4 hours, you have to call the ambulance. You have to call the hospital. I mean, this is called priapism, and it's very dangerous. I mean, you can have issues like erectile dysfunction and problems with actually feeling anything down there. You'll have sensitivity issues for likely months, years, and potentially the rest of your life. So if you have priapism because you took Viagra, you got to get that checked. That's not a good thing, and you don't want to deal with that. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. To all of you who have more questions, just keep sending them my way, whether it's through Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, even text for some of my friends. Send me your questions and I will answer them in the next Q&A video. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.